Hello everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I want to share with you some tips on homeschooling multiple children, and this means multiple grades. So I this year have a 5th grader, a 9th grader, and a kindergartner, and I'm homeschooling all three of them. My oldest is now in college, so I don't have to worry about him. And I am finding it both easier and more challenging. It's easier because I do not have a toddler or a baby, and there is nothing more difficult than homeschooling with a toddler. It's okay with a baby, it's okay being pregnant, it's okay when they're older, but toddlerhood, especially if they're boys, is like super difficult to homeschool and have a toddler, in my opinion and in my experience. So this year, it's easier because I don't have a toddler and I don't have a baby, but it's more challenging because I am doing 3 very distinctive age groups. I've got the under 7, so that in the Waldorf philosophy and in other philosophies as well, a lot of other educational philosophies, you've got these different groups, these different developmental stages, and there's the stage before the age of 7, about before when the children lose their teeth, and that's one phase of development. Then you have the next phase between approximately 7 to 14, and then you have post-puberty, and that's the older ages from like say 14 to about 21, and then or 22, 23, and then there's like the more like adult phase, and there's even some more breakdowns within these different developmental stages. But for today and for our purposes, I just want to focus on the fact that I am homeschooling in those 3 different stages, and it's got its challenges. So there are some benefits in having the kids farther apart in age. Just gives you a break. You know, one is completely done nursing and, you know, sleeping through the night, and then, you know, then you can deal with the next child. And there's also benefits in having your kids more closely together, you know, 1, 2, 3 years apart, and doing them all together. And yes, it's very difficult in the beginning, and then it kind of has its benefits later on, especially if you can do one lesson for multiple kids. So if you have your kids more spread out in ages and you want to try to do something where it's just one lesson for all the kids, then I would recommend a unit study approach, because that way you can do one lesson, especially this works well with history and science, and then all of the kids can be listening to that one lesson. And what we do in our family is that we might have one lesson and one set of books that we're reading aloud, or one set of projects that we're all doing together, but then the kids then have to deliver work that is grade appropriate or age appropriate or developmentally appropriate, because you might have a 5th grader that, you know, can't write at a 5th grade level but can read at a 7th grade level. So you just have to kind of do what is right for your kids. And if you're doing a unit study and you're dealing with multiple grades, then each of those grades can give you work that is suitable for that grade level. So in our home, actually this year's not the greatest example to use for this because my 9th grader also has to do his own daily work. But for instance, if you had a 4th grader and a 6th grader and an 8th grader and they're all doing the same unit study, it's possible that your 4th grader would do work that is maybe shorter in length, like if they're doing an essay, versus the 6th grader versus the 8th grader that could maybe use more like deeper and richer vocabulary, etc., things like that. So the unit study approach is a really great way to go if you're going to be homeschooling multiple grades. It is especially like more easy to use if your children are a little bit closer together. Mine happen to be about 4 years apart, so it's a little bit more challenging doing one lesson that's going to meet the needs of all of the kids, and it never really does, but it will at least focus on one child. Suppose I'm focusing on my 5th grader, my 9th grader has that opportunity to review that information, or the fact that it's a little bit easier makes it a little bit more enjoyable, and my kindergartner gets to just be present for the lessons and just enjoy the process, and she doesn't have to do any work. She's just there. I mean, she's not going to go anywhere else, so she's just enjoying what we're doing. Or sometimes she's not, and sometimes she just wants to go play because she finds it not very interesting. If your kids are closer in age, the unit study approach will be really great because chances are you can find books or living books or textbooks or projects that meet the needs of an age range that's about 4 to 5 or 6 years. I feel like you can find material that will work because a very young student, let's say a first or second grader, may not be able to read a text that's designed for a 6th grader, but can certainly listen to it being read aloud and understand the content pretty well. So that's why you could probably do a unit study approach with grades that span 4 or 5 grade levels. So the unit study approach is one method that I find really valuable when you're homeschooling multiple ages. Something else that you could do, which is a little bit different, is to choose a curriculum or material that is about 1 or 2 grade levels below where your child is, so that it is easy for your child, especially if you've got 2 or 3 children and you're giving them that work. It's easy for them to do. They could probably get it done more quickly than grade level work. The benefits are that their confidence will be really boosted because it will be easy for them, and they'll probably really enjoy the whole learning process. And that way, if you are stretched thin, or this is your first year homeschooling, or you've been homeschooling for a while and you're almost like feeling that burnt out phase, then doing something that's a little bit easier on your children means that there's going to be less problems in the sense that the kids may not argue so much about their workload. They may not need your help as much, which means that you don't have to be as present for each of your children, because it's hard if you're homeschooling multiple kids to be there for each of your kids, even if you're there for, like, say 15 minutes for one and then 15 minutes for the other, or even longer blocks of time. There's always going to be time when one of your kids doesn't have anything to do, or is stuck on a problem, or needs your assistance and you're doing something else. And so doing a curriculum that's a little bit easier academically means that they can work more independently. Working independently is actually a great third option, and you could choose an entire curriculum that is designed for your kids to work through independently without a lot of teacher or parent help. That way you could easily homeschool multiple kids because they would be working primarily independently on their own, and this would really free up your ability to just manage or maybe even just do some of the fun activities rather than some of the things that some of us just don't care to do. If it's a lot of proficiency work and math drills, it's just not as exciting as doing something that's a little bit more fun, like a field trip or something in the kitchen or something outdoors. And if that's not your thing, that's okay, because doing an independent curriculum means that you can be a little bit more hands-off, because maybe you're choosing to homeschool for other reasons other than academics. Maybe you didn't want that kind of environment for your kids, or there was some other issue going on, and you are doing this not because you necessarily were like, yes, I want to homeschool, but you kind of have to homeschool. Then maybe choosing a curriculum that's a little bit more independent means that you can fulfill the choice to homeschool without, some of the people who get really overly involved. I don't know who those people are. Anyway, so those are 3 tips that could possibly help you if you are homeschooling multiple ages. And if you have other tips, please let me know about them in the comment section below, because this will be a great topic for discussion. All right, thanks for watching.